Hey, this is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. And we've got one tremendous broadcast for you today. I've got some of the superstars of the industry. We've got guest panelists and regular panelists on today, and we're going to be talking about things customers say, the common objections. You know, in the last couple of years, it hasn't been difficult to sell cars. Pay attention. Pay attention. I'm telling you right now, it hasn't been difficult to sell cars in the last couple of years. I've seen people congratulating themselves on setting records. What are you thinking? Those cars sold themselves. But you know what? We've normalized in the industry. Inventory's flowing. We got rebates. We got trunk money. We got low interest rates. It's back the way it was. And guess what? Our salespeople have lost the edge. Common training, things customers say, we need to not only train our salespeople, we need to retrain our managers. So today's guest panelist, my friend from Three Birds Marketing, Mabel Peralta. Hey, Mabel.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Have you ever sold a car?
I've sold many cars.
I knew the answer to that. Her email is one Volvo girl. I mean, and I have some history with Volvo, as you well know. And I was one of the Dyer & Dyer managers when we set all the records. So anyway, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
From Revved Up Solutions. Now, Jenna Smith. Hi, kid.
Hey, how are you, Jim?
Glad to have you. Where are you today?
Today I am sitting as a Michigander, true Michigander. We point to our hand. The mitten. I'm sitting at Northwood University, just helping students get acclimated to the auto industry, doing some pretty big stuff here with planning for our first residential automotive camp this summer. And in between that, I'm just, it's a great time up here at Northwood.
You're consulting dealerships. You're setting up BDCs. You actually work in the dealerships. I mean,
work in the dealerships. I do that when I'm not doing camp things. Yep,
I got the whole word on you. I'll tell you what I'm teaching that general manager class at Northwood University. It's the only 4-year university in the country with a major in automotive. So if you're thinking about really upping your game in automotive and you're about to get into a college environment, you got kids ready for a college environment, Northwood University. And from Phoenix, Arizona, from the Horn Automotive Group, April Simmons. Hi, kid. Marketing director of how many stores?
We're up to 14 now. I'm starting to lose count. I feel like we're in acquisition territory all the time. So good stuff. Super duper busy. I oversee our internet teams as well. So today's topic will be very near and dear to my heart. I'm super excited to get into it today.
And the curmudgeon, the mad Russian, direct from Moscow, Russia. No. Direct from Spain, believe it or not, my friend Max Zanan. Hi, guy.
Hey, Jim. How are you?
King of reinsurance, F&I products, author of what, 7, 8, 10 books?
No, four. But I actually have a big announcement to make. I spoke to Jim earlier today, and I told him that I am writing my 5th book, specifically dedicated to F&I. And Jim was kind enough to agree to write a foreword. So it's on the record now.
I love that.
Yeah, I highly recommend this guy. Go to Amazon and look up Max Zanan, author. What's the most controversial book title you have?
Car Business 101. Crazy shit car dealers do.
Crazy shit car dealers do. I love that title. Okay, today's subject, what do customers say? What are customer objections, if you will? And what customer-friendly, high-powered closes and comebacks can we say? Number one, what's your best price? What's your best price? No matter what form they ask that question, the most dangerous moment in a car sale. I'm going to start with April Simmons.
Obviously, there's a lot of different places now where we get asked this question. So I think that's the first place we have to start. I kind of want to lay some groundwork for the show today, because traditionally when we talk about overcoming objections, we're talking about them in the showroom. But we all know today that the beginning stages of most deals are not happening in the showroom.
On the text, on the keyboard, on the phone,
chat, on the phone, through your DR tools, all of these sort of things. So first and foremost, the most important thing is to realize that what's your best price is now getting asked in a lot of different ways other than just directly, what's your best price?
And it is the most dangerous moment in a car sale. Whatever that manager or salesperson or BDC rep says next is going to make or blow the deal.
Yeah, yes and no. I don't think so. I think that setting up outline for all of the Foursquare items, I think we still operate with a Foursquare. Most of us don't take out a Sharpie anymore and Sharpie up a Foursquare. But if you look at the CTAs on anybody's website, what are they? They're the Foursquare. If you look at what the main objections are, they've always been the 4 items of the Foursquare. It's the price, it's the trade, it's the payment, it's the down payment. Those are our 4 most biggest objections and the 4 things that our CTAs almost always hit. So if price is their number 1 objection, what was the whole purpose of the Foursquare? It was to isolate the one objection. So as long as I can handle taking on the trade, the payment, and the down payment, all I have to do is say, hey, price has never been a reason why we won't make a deal. We have the most inventory, the best selection. First and foremost, let's make sure we are aligned in that. And then we can go forward to make a plan.
Slow down. Say it again. Say it again.
See, I just go rambling. I can't help it. I get excited. When you have a customer that, and I'm on massive amounts of cold medicine, so you do have to slow me down today. That being said, the best objection that I typically have for price is just like anything else. You have to get them off a specific number. It's never good enough. No matter what you say at this point, that's why it can kill a deal. It's never going to be good enough. You can be $10,000 below invoice. They're never going to believe you. No customer ever believes that the number you say, I don't care how many surveys are out there on, we need to be transparent. Transparent is a false word. Nobody believes it. There's no such thing as being transparent. What you have to do is make your customer believe that you're being transparent. So the easiest way that I go about overcoming objections is to line out the entire deal and how I am going to be there for you to make the best program and the best car.
Program. Deal. Didn't use the word deal. You used the word program.
Bingo. Because here's the deal. Almost all customers are still down payment buyers. So if the price is $12,000 and you want to be $150 a month, probably not going to happen. If the price is $40,000 and you want to be $300 a month, probably not going to happen. So the price is really an irrelevant number. It's just what people have been taught to ask. So it is my job to now come across as the advisor for you, right? Not a salesman. I'm your automotive advisor. I'm here to help you through the process of buying a deal. And my job is to utilize all of the manufacturer's programs, all of those special deals out there, and find you the best vehicle for your wants and needs.
So you set yourself up where the customer feels you are their agent.
Bingo.
Very good. Let me go to Mabel a second. Let's see what Mabel's got to say about this.
Well, when I was selling cars, I would always tell the customer, the best price is a price that you and I both agree with. I could give you numbers, you could have numbers in your head, but if it makes sense to the both of us, then that is going to be the best price.
You're still avoiding giving them a number, correct?
I'm still avoiding giving them a number.
Yes.
And, they think about it and I'm like, which is the car? I usually just look at the car, see, what is the car that you're into? We work it out. Once I show them the numbers for that car and they tell me like, no, well, I want to be here. I mean, I told a customer once, if you show me the math where this makes sense, I will go to bat for you. I will go right now to my floor manager and be like, listen, this is the math that we have on this $50,000 car and why it makes sense that it's, $458 with $1,000 down. And I just quickly give them whatever piece of paper I have with numbers on it. And I give them a pen. I'm like, just show me where it makes sense. Cause I really want you to get this car. They stare at it. Yeah. They stare at it and they're like, well, you should discount it. I'm like, oh, but we did. And I go through the whole gamut, if there are programs available, if they're not, if there's like concourse, whatever, and it's still not making sense to them. So then they're like, well, all right, I could go up to, so now it's changed. Now they could go up. Now they could come out of pocket an extra $3,000.
Yeah, Mabel, I used to do that when I was in F&I. I called it the pistol bump.
Really?
What payment did you have in mind? And I'd point my finger like a pistol, and they'd say $458, and I'd go.
Well, I used to do the. I also used to do like the takeaway. So they would come in, like, let's say a Volvo, they would come in on like an S90 and really want the S90, but they were set on a certain payment. So I would show them an S60. I'm like, well, look, for that price, you could get this. And immediately it was like, no, but I really want the S90. I'm like, well, how bad do you want it? Yeah.
Very good. Let me get Jenna on this conversation. Jenna, what's your best price?
Well, so I'm going to set the stage a little bit like April did, right? Usually right out of the gate, there's been some dialogue depending on how the consumer has come to you, right? How they've knocked on that door. So whether it's a web chat or it's a phone sales opportunity, I think it's important to slow the customer, really focus on building the relationship. I do believe that transparency has been thrown out there. Frictionless car experience has been thrown out there. We'll get you down. Customers don't believe us. We're sales.
Transparency and frictionless is profitable less.
Listen, profit's not a dirty word, but at the end of the day, what I like to tell people that I've worked with when I sold cars, and now salespeople that I work with when I train, is that to be focused on building the relationship. You want to be focused on what their needs are, and then that in the early stages of the conversation, you're slowing the process down and asking vital questions to understand really a good needs assessment. Needs are versus their wants. Hey, you really needed heated seats, or that you really wanted them, but it does have remote start on it. And this is where product knowledge is very important and critical these days. A lot of these consumers, they know already what's on the vehicles, and they know everything else about what they've done with their deal online. So they're gut checking you. They're just making sure
they've done their research.
Them. They've done their research. So it's important to say things like, my commitment to you is to make sure that you get the best value, that you're getting the best bang for your buck, if you want to shorten it up or, be a little bit more casual for them. I'm here alongside you in the process to make sure that you feel confident that you're getting the best value for what you're spending your hard-earned money on. So a lot of times,
Max, let me get Max in on this conversation. Max, jump in there.
Listen, I feel like we're getting like politically correct answers, right? Like, I'm the consultant, I'm the advisor, I'm this, I'm that.
Well, here goes Max.
Right. If you ask me what's my best price in this environment, I will walk you over to the car and I will say that sticker is quicker. Okay? Sticker is quicker. And then you're going to say yes or no, right? And if the answer is yes, great, we got a deal. And if the answer is no, I'm going to do what Mabel was talking about. I'm going to say, hey, you want to pay $3,000 on the sticker, right? So let's switch seats. And if you have a compelling enough argument why I should sell you this car for $3,000 less than sticker, I will gladly do it. And I promise you, even if you have an MBA and a PhD in front of you, they will completely fall apart. They will have zero arguments that they can make why you should discount this car $3,000. So guys, at the end of the day, selling is art. So no need to be robotic, right? Get a personality and make the magic happen. That's what sales is all about. There's a difference between a number 1 salesperson on the floor and a number 10 salesperson on the floor. And it's not the selling skills, it's the interpersonal skills.
Okay, Max. We have on the sidebar somebody who is obviously a student of mine. I mean, this is the word track that I teach word for word. I cannot. Who is this? Because my screen just
sounds like a setup.
It's probably Nathan because Nathan was with.
It might be Patrick O'Brien.
Right.
I think it might be Patrick O'Brien because he's a student, a disciple of mine. Okay, let me.
It is.
It is Patrick O'Brien. I told you it was a setup.
Okay, it is Patrick O'Brien. I mean, this Patrick O'Brien is a Ziegler clone. Okay, here's my word track. I've been teaching this for 20 years. My best price? No problem. If that's important to you, if that's an issue, we'll do business today. Our policy here at the dealership is not only to get you the best price, our policy is to get you all the information. I'm going to get you the payment, the lease payment, interest rate, what the trade-in value, whatever you need to know. And here's the key word, with no pressure to buy whatsoever. I'm going to get you all the information with no pressure to buy. Now, Mr. Customer, is that fair? That fairness challenge is so important. Is that fair? Because people don't want to be unfair. I'm going to get you all the information with no pressure to buy. The price, the payment, the down payment, everything you need to know. But we do require you select and drive a vehicle before we discuss figures. Is that fair? Listen to that. We do require that you select and drive a vehicle before we I didn't say negotiate, never negotiate, discuss figures. What do you think? That is Patrick O'Brien. He just revealed it like the Masked Singer. He just told me who he is. Okay, what do you think of my word track, April?
I love the word track. I think it's tough though when we consider, and again, that both those word tracks that you use and that Max uses are perfect, absolutely perfect in the showroom. However, my stores are now up to 70% of my deals are made via the internet.
Absolutely.
So now we've got to talk about, well, what are my word tracks for when somebody asks for a best price in an email and I don't even get a phone number to call or text this customer, and it's an email only lead, and their question is, what is the best price? In that case, asking them to test drive a vehicle doesn't make sense. In that case, saying sticker is quicker is probably not going to work. Because you can with a joke. I've done it, Max. I do it in the showroom. So I 100% am with it. But how do we do it when it's an email only situation? And
exactly. That's a lot of our business too.
Isolate the one thing. What I'm finding is that people need to slow down and read their internet leads and read what they're asking, look at what they've actually looked at. There's a reason that people ask for best price. It's not because they're writing a check. They're still tax, title, license, all these things. Customers are programmed to ask for that. So it's okay to have a starting point, give them a number, and not have it be your best price because they don't believe it anyway. So
well, one thing about it, April, and I'm going to ask the rest of the panel in a second. One thing you have to remember, if you're in a BDC, or if you're just a salesperson that picked up the phone, it doesn't matter. However, this customer, whatever modality of communication they used, remember this, they're not going to buy the car they're asking about. Nobody statistically buys the car they researched. Most people
quit. You're starting to take the track out of my mouth though here, Jim. You're starting you're starting to take the track out of my mouth here. because typically what I'll do in an internet lead that's email only, I'm going to give them a number, but I will explain in that we have other vehicles that if they've been here longer on the lot or are in a different, less desirable color, we may have other options that could get them a better deal. So again, the most important thing, Mr. Customer, is that we work together to find you the best value for you. So those are things that you can do in an internet lead where you're only dealing email only, where you can still say, I'm here to align, and don't be scared to give them a number. They're getting numbers, people. Like there's this spot where like, don't be scared that you put a number out there and now they're going to ghost you. The reality of it is they're getting numbers all over the internet. They're getting numbers from all the other dealers in town. The numbers are out there. Just don't expect that you actually have to give them the best price.
Okay, jump in there, Mabel.
Well, it's almost like dating. It's like online dating. The customers are swiping left and right. If they really,
I never did that.
Meaning,
if they like that, I've been with Debbie too long.
But if really like what you are offering as far as your correspondence with them, obviously you're going to be top tier. So I had a customer like that he was from Key West and he was looking for a specific Renegade and he was doing the best price. Obviously he couldn't come to see it. And I just took my camera. I did a 10-second video with the actual car he was interested in. And I'm like, hey, I know you wanted the best price. I just want to quickly show you, make sure that this is the car that you were emailing my BDC department about. And if it is, I would love to give you a quick walk around on it and just let me know if you have any further questions. And
do you send them a video? Do you send them a video?
Yeah, I sent them a video. A 10-second video of the car that he was.
You walk around the vehicle and send them a personal video?
Yep, I did. It didn't take that long. And that's something that I'm like, when I see or hear salespeople say like, oh no, it's going to take too long, but you're on your phone already. You're on your phone on social media, texting your friends, doing whatever. What's it going to take like 1 minute to just walk around the car, shoot the video and send it to the customer? It doesn't take, it's not rocket science. So you can do it that way. But
when they get to the dealership, have 3 cars. I'm going to have the one they inquired about, the more expensive version of the one they inquired,
and then the lesser, the no frills,
a program car.
Yeah, if it exists, because God knows those are always gone first. But you need to really just step it up a little bit when it's like, give me the best price. But it is like dating, because they just want to know what you're going to bring to the table. They're not just going to go with you because you're literally 2 blocks down. They'll go across town for that deal, or because that salesperson was a little bit more personable and, like Jenna said, product knowledge. So I know Max said something about the tools, or I don't know, something painting wise, but if you're going to paint, then the product knowledge is the paintbrush. And that's how you're going to get that masterpiece. That's the difference between you and Bob Ross. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to listen carefully to what the customer is saying.
Okay. Jenna, jump in there.
I couldn't agree more with these 2 ladies, because the internet is where it is. I mean, if you think about anything that you can buy, you're 1 click away on Amazon from buying from a competitor, looking at pricing or looking at different products. You have to focus on building that relationship, like Max said, having the interpersonal relationship, sprinkling in, a little bit of humor. The video walk around is a great one. I brought that up because that's something that I specialize in. My husband is Casey the Auto Guy, and we've done a lot of Facebook videos on vehicles. That's actually, we were set up on a blind date by somebody in automotive. So Bobbie Herron, who's usually on the show, actually. So one of the things that we really have to do with our customers is focus on building that relationship, building the rapport, finding out what their needs are, additional offers of products that are available, being able to walk around our competition, so that way we can show them why our vehicle is better than the competitor or other vehicles that they're looking at. And just don't BS your customers. It's that simple, folks. I mean, you have a 90% shot. If you've got got the car in inventory right now, let's just face it, we're still dealing with, some of the inventory issues depending on the brand that you sell and the market that you're in. I'm up here in northern Michigan. So if you're dealing with some of those issues still, inventory can still be tricky. And so you've got to work with what you've got. And so you've got to make sure that you know your stuff better than anybody else, and you follow up with the customer. Make sure that they
another one. I got another one. You ready? Okay,
let's hear it.
Okay. What's your interest rate? What's my interest rate? Now, this is a customer on the phone, on the text. This is one on the lot. I don't care how you met this customer. They want to know their interest rate before you've pulled their bureau. Max, jump in there.
Well, listen, Jim, before we get to the interest rate, I want to say this.
Wait a minute now.
Listen, at the end of the day, right, everybody shops online, right? And when you shop online, you don't get to negotiate. You don't get to negotiate with Amazon. You don't get to negotiate with Bloomingdale's.
You're going back to one price, right?
Exactly. Whether you like it or not, the reality of the future is one price.
Okay,
right?
Mac.
And like April said, they're getting numbers. Just give them your number. Make it one price. It doesn't matter if you come to the showroom, if you email a text, or send a lead through the chat. Right?
Max is a one-price disciple.
Right. Just price it correctly. It doesn't have to be sticker. It doesn't have to be over sticker or under sticker. It's whatever you feel like the right price is, and you just stick to it. It doesn't matter if it's in a showroom or somewhere else. And I think it will eliminate a lot of BDC friction, a lot of sales floor friction, and a lot of friction altogether.
A lot of profit. Right? No. Okay.
Will it eliminate profit? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, Jim, when you walk into a Mercedes dealership or a BMW dealership or a Rolls-Royce dealership, there's not a lot of room for negotiation.
Scarcity, non-competitive market.
Fine.
One price, in my estimation, doesn't work in a competitive market.
Yes and
scarcity, highline automobiles with scarcity and few dealers. Maybe.
Listen, Jim, you can lowball them. You can lowball them and then bump them in F&I. But then it's going to leave a terrible taste in their mouth. You will never get another business out of this person, right? So, or you can be upfront and say, hey, I'm not going to lowball you.
All right, Max. Let's go back to what's your interest rate?
Listen, the interest rate is very simple, right? Because at the end of the day, the dealer has zero control over the interest rate. Forget the markup, right? At the end of the day, it's the customer's credit that's going to determine the buy rate, right? And the 2 points of markup is completely irrelevant because you tell me the difference between an 18% buy rate and a 20% sell rate. What is the difference, guys?
Okay, interest rate, April Simmons.
Again, really, really simple. I can't really answer that question directly. So I'm going to align with a customer and say something along the lines of, we have hundreds of different programs available to our customers. My job as your sales advisor is to help you find the one that aligns best with you. That's going to be a determining factor on the vehicle is going to be determined upon your specific credit and not your Credit Karma credit score, but rather an auto score, which is a little bit different. I've seen them vary up to 100 points. So that's going to come into play. And then how much down payment you put. So that will effectively make a difference on your loan to value. All those things together will determine your interest rate. So the best plan of action for us to get you in is to come on down to the dealership, no obligation. We can take a look, plan together, and we will find the best program for you.
Okay. Are there customers out there?
This is what I said. Only April translated it in English.
Is that what it is? Translated it?
There are people out there, now get this. I know it's going to be difficult to believe, but there are people out there that have bad credit.
Oh, right.
No, there are. I was one of them. When I drove to Atlanta with my mattress tied to the roof, I was driving a buy here, pay here car. I mean, I was there. I couldn't get a box of Cheerios with a cosigner.
But interest rate is not their objection. They're only payment down payment. They're not asking about the interest rate.
You'd be surprised, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I've had a few customers that were really insistent that they had great credit and that it's all about their credit. And then you pull their credit and you're like, you are going to need a cosigner, or there's a few things we need to talk about. So whenever I would get asked that question about the rate, I would say, look, the national rate is this, and it all depends on your credit. So if you're telling me that you have great credit and I'm just going to go by that, then, obviously just know that the price is going to change. So that way, when I do run their credit and surprise, surprise, it's not what they thought it was, they can't come at me like, you lied to me. No. I told you it's all depending on your credit. So, and they're already aware what's going to happen to them.
Here's a good piece of advice from the sidelines. Stop apologizing to people with bad credit. I teach that in every one of my F&I seminars. Stop. Look, I didn't buy that shit you didn't pay for. It wasn't, I didn't do it. It's not my fault. Excuse me. People with bad credit, and we used to call people derogatory names. Remember that? I mean, bogues, drecks, roaches, credit criminals. I was one, so I can talk about it. Bogues, drecks, credit criminals, bandits. I mean, now people are credit challenged, equity impaired. That's the polite, socially correct way. But people with bad credit know who they are. Now, what Mabel just spurred this in me, because Mabel just said, they tell you they know they've got bad credit. They've seen tow trucks skulking around their driveway. It's not, they know exactly who they are, I mean, excuse me. I mean, it's not a big secret. I have bad credit. No shit.
No, they know.
Yeah, of course you have bad credit. Here's my word track. Oh, Mr. Customer, as you know. Now, as you know is one of my favorite closing phrases. As you know, because it implies that everybody knows this. You're supposed to know whatever I'm about to say. And if you admit you don't know it, you'll appear to be a dumbass. Okay, Mr. Customer, as you know, different people qualify for different financial programs. Don't say interest rate back to them. As you know, different people qualify for different financial programs. Oh, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, of course you did. As you know, different people qualify for different financial programs. It depends on two things. It depends on your personal credit history and the amount of your down payment. Now, as a salesperson, I'm not allowed to discuss your credit with you. That's a privacy act. That's between you and the financial manager in privacy. And they will show you all of the programs that you personally qualify for. Well, zero interest available? Yes, sir. Zero interest is available from the factory for people with exceptional credit. It's one of the programs for people with exceptional credit. It's one of the programs we offer. Is 0% available? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Is 1.9% available? Yes, ma'am. It's one of our programs for people with exceptional credit. But as you know, different people qualify for different financial, don't say interest rate back to them, different financial programs. Depends on your personal credit, the amount of, look how I slid down payment into that word track. Because down payment lowers interest rate. So
and you open the door to negotiate at that point too, Jim, because at that point, if you show them an interest rate they don't like when you get to the pencil, you can absolutely go for more down payment in order to renegotiate that term. So it's a great way to actually open up.
You like that word track?
I like it.
That word track is a killer.
Works
as you know, and when you say, I have used as you know in many closing situations. Because nobody wants to admit they don't know if you just said, as you know. Nobody
and the best way to actually go with as you know, and this is something I've used forever and ever and ever. I don't care what role you're in right now. the whole goal of transparency is to appear to be transparent without actually being transparent. And the way to do that is to just outline the process to the customer up front. I have found that if I take 5 minutes up front and tell somebody exactly everything that we're going to do, then I don't get all the friction points along the way. I don't have to overcome 12 objections through the steps. If I just tell them up front, here's how everything's going to roll. If I do the same thing when I'm taking a pencil out and I overcome the objections basically up front, I ask those questions up front before I put numbers. Because you ever notice like you get freeze frame from the customer when you just shove numbers in front of them? If you haven't warmed up and tried to figure out where their pain points are, are you really hot for the trade, or is down payment and payment your big issue? If you haven't figured that out at the time that you're shoving a pencil in front of them, whether it's in the internet or in the showroom floor, you've got a problem, because you're going to end up not actually even getting the proper objection out of the customer. So my biggest advice is in order to really give the customer this quote unquote transparency, it's not about that. It's about outlining ahead of time how things roll so that your customers' walls come down, and then you don't even have to deal with most of these objections.
Let me tell you the end of the word track. You jumped in on it, and it's so funny because you said it opens up for negotiation. The word track ends up with the salesperson or the BDC rep or whoever's talking to the customer. Mr. Customer, as you know, different banks, different lenders required have different qualifications for different customers. Different people qualify for different financial programs. It depends on your person. And you notice I'm not saying it the same way every time, because it's not memorization, it's conversation. I say it a different way every time, but I'm getting the same point out. Different people qualify for different financial programs. Depends on two things: your personal credit, amount of your down payment. I'm a salesperson, not allowed to discuss your personal credit with you. Privacy Act, that the financial manager who is qualified, licensed, and bonded to be able to talk to you about your credit will discuss all of your financial options, everything you personally qualify for. 0%, yes, sir. It's one of our programs for people with exceptional credit. And just keep rolling right along. And Mr. Customer, I do know that 20% is customary for the best financial programs. That was the end of the word track, April. I do know 20% down is customary for the very best financial programs we offer. Don't say we're going to ask you for 20% down, but it's for the best financial programs. The lenders we have require 20% down. Jenna, how's that sound to you?
Oh, that sounds good, Jim. As you know, I think that it's a combination of all these things. You want to keep the customer informed. Obviously, give that soft intro to your finance manager or finance department. Making sure that you're keeping the customer informed along the way of what options are available to them. And then if it is those folks with, bruised or bad credit, I also like to say to them, hey, my hope is that this isn't your first purchase isn't your last purchase with me, even if it is your first. And that when we come to your next.
Never take a customer's dignity away from them.
Oh, no, you don't want to.
Never take their dignity away. And there's two kinds of people that have bad credit. There are habitual bad credit people.
Sure.
And there are victims of circumstances. And I differentiate the two. A person who is a victim of the circumstances, beyond, and when I'm getting a deal approved, I fight the banks. This is a victim of circumstances. These circumstances were beyond their control. And what the banks want to hear from the finance manager is, this is not likely to reoccur.
Right. And
this is not likely to happen again.
What's, again, relationship building with those customers is letting you're coming alongside them in their journey, that you're going to help. This car purchase will actually help them reestablish credit or build more better credit, that they'll be able to purchase their next vehicle and have better circumstances in the future, as long as they upkeep their current financial obligations.
There's another type of customer I call a BWA.
BWA. What's that, Jim?
I'm glad you asked. A bogue with an attitude.
Oh.
AKA third base.
They got bad credit. They got an attitude about it. I mean, have you ever, Mabel, have you ever had a customer with distress credit that had an attitude?
Yep. And it was my fault. It was my fault that they went bankrupt. It was my fault that they had a repo. It was my fault that their Kohl's card was like overextended.
They gave that car back.
Yeah, I'm like, how is this my fault? Like, I don't understand. Well, you got to make this work. I need that Durango. And I'm like, no, what you need is that used like Audi outside that's falling apart. That's only like $8,000. That's more your speed. But they do get mad at you, and it's because you're presenting them with the truth. And what happens when you tell people the truth, right? They get upset. And you do, you said something, Jim, that really kind of just hit it home, is you got to treat them with dignity, and someone in the comments said, like, you treat them like you would anyone with good credit, excellent credit, whatever. And then they feel like, you know what? I trust this person. They're not talking down to me. They're not making me feel bad for some of my financial mistakes I've made. So it's easier that way. But even when you get customers that are angry because they know their situation and now it's coming up to light and they know they can't get that car at that price, you still have to treat it with white gloves, and you still have to treat them with respect, even if they're completely disrespecting you.
There was a woman named Shirley Tabb. Does anybody know who Shirley Tabb was? Okay, let me tell the Shirley Tabb story. When I was consulting the Ford Minority Dealers Program, this goes back to the 90s, there was a woman in Baltimore at Inner Harbor Ford named Shirley Tabb, African-American woman, and she was selling like 30 cars a month, when 30 cars a month are a little more difficult. And she actually paid for herself to attend my F&I seminar. And she was specialized. She had been a social worker in inner city Washington before she was a car salesperson. And Shirley Tabb was specializing in distressed credit customers before there was such a thing as special finance sources. She was specializing in it. And when a person got approved, she had sources the dealership didn't even have, lending sources. So when they came to pick up their car, the car was in the floor with theater velvet ropes around the car, theater ropes. You know what I'm talking about? She had the car, and she had balloons on the car. And now these are people with real bad credit. Now she got them approved. She has a guy in a tuxedo deliver their keys on a pillow. She makes a whole ceremony out of it when they get delivered and photographs it. Didn't have the video. And she has in the trunk of the car was a champagne iced down with 3 glasses. And they would have a photograph of them and Shirley Tabb. And I lost track of Shirley Tabb for a couple of years, but I used to laugh because she gave them a calendar with a picture of her. So, reestablishing their credit with the champagne and all of that, gave them a calendar with that picture on it. So I lost track of her through the years. And she called me up and she said, Jim, I hear you're coming to Washington, D.C. Yeah, I'm flying in. She said, let me pick you up at the airport. So I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And she was a statuesque woman. And I get at the baggage claim, and I hadn't seen her in 10 years. I walked right past her, didn't recognize her. Shirley, is that you? Oh, golly. I mean, and she got a Mercedes convertible. She really, I said, what are you doing these days? She said, I'm selling buy here, pay here gold jewelry in inner city Washington.
Wow.
Oh, but she taught me about how to treat distressed credit customers. I learned that from
How
Shirley
many
Keller.
you have repeat and referrals for life? You want to talk about the most loyal customer is somebody that you've taken the time to help them in their life, not in buying a car, but in their life by showing them what they need to do, lining them out. My favorite, I love helping people who've had issues because they'll always come back to me. I love getting the young kid, it's their first time buying a car, and really explaining to them how all this stuff works and how not to get into credit card debt and what kind of credit cards you need or not need. And all of those things, I think, really set you up for the best repeat and referral business of anything else you do. And how much advertising does it cost?
Exactly. Now, the next question. I got a better deal on a car elsewhere. Now let's talk about this car they've got at another dealership. They've got a better price on a car elsewhere. Now,
why didn't they buy it there?
Okay, first thing I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to ask you guys. First thing I'm going to ask is, did you physically go see the car at the other dealership? Did you see an advertisement, or have you spoken to somebody at the dealership? And has a manager verified the deal you got? Those are the 4 questions. Has a manager verified the deal you got at the other dealership? Did you physically see the car at the other dealership? It might have been a Carvana car that they didn't even really have. Did they really have the car? Did you see the car? Did you see an advertisement for the car but didn't see the car, didn't talk to anybody? Okay, jump on that a second, Max.
Like I said, why didn't they buy it there, Jim?
Okay, well, that's a pretty combative question. I would have expected that.
It's not a combative question. It's just common sense. It's common sense. When I have a great deal, I'm just going to pull a trigger and get it there, right? I'm not going to take this good deal and go elsewhere and say, hey, why can't you do that? It just makes zero sense. Buyers are liars, right? And salespeople need to understand it, right? So you can't take everything at face value, right? And listen, it's okay to say, okay, it's a great deal. Why didn't you take it? Why didn't you take 2? If I was you, I would take 3.
There are times I would be combative, Max. I was in a dealership in Ohio, and I did the pencil on the deal, and the dealer was asking for $9,000 for this car, and the customer said, $9,000? I'm not paying $9,000. And I looked at the car and realized, hey, wait a second. This was 2005, and this car was a 1985. We're asking $9,000 for it. And the guy said, I'm not paying that. So I went to the dealer and I said, is this a mistake? Is it really a 1985 Cadillac? He said, yes, a 1985 Cadillac convertible. I said, yeah. He said, but I'm not taking 1 penny less than $9,000. So he said, let me see this car. So I went out. And one of those deals where the husband had died, the wife had the car in storage, and it had like 600 miles on it, just some very ridiculous low mileage, maybe 2,000 miles, but had ridiculous low mileage. It was in mint showroom condition, chocolate brown with a white interior, beautiful Cadillac. So I go back to the customer, and I got combative. You just reminded me of this deal. I said, Mr. Customer, the dealer's firm at $9,000. And I'm really hoping you don't buy it because I'm a consultant. I don't work here. I'm going to buy the car if you don't. I will drive this car home. You got an 85 Cadillac with 2,000 miles on it in perfect mint condition. I'll buy it.
Right.
That was my best close.
And Jim, it's not about being combative, right? I'm saying it as a former general manager, right? Sometimes you have to instill a certain culture in your showroom, and you have to lead by example. And sometimes it sounds combative, but you have to slap customers into reality. Right. And you have to train your sales.
I didn't say slap customers. Max said that.
Right. Max did say that. Right.
Okay, let me get Mabel on this. Mabel, they're saying they got a better deal on a car elsewhere. What are you going to say?
What I always say, if you lose your keys and you find them, are you still going to look for your keys?
Yeah.
And then Yeah. And it's like, well, if you found the best car, then, what's going on? And that's when either they tell you the truth or they feel a little,
like Max.
Yeah. But in a nicer way. But yeah, you just got to call them out on their bluff, basically. Just call them out on their bluff. There's nothing they could do because, in fact, if that was a great deal, then why are we talking about it? Clearly, they have the car you want, clearly it's the price you want. So
that's
go
not
run.
Going to sell it. Nobody has given me an argument that's going to sell our car. April, jump in there.
Again, because if you're dealing with internet, it's a little different than if you're dealing with that in the showroom. So and internet customers, are keyboard warriors.
Well, let's narrow it down. This one's in the showroom.
All right. There's always going to be a better deal.
They saw your car advertised and they came in.
Or on the phone.
Okay, April. They saw your car advertised. They came in and drove it, and now they want a better price. They say they got one at another dealership cheaper than you're asking. They're physically.
I'm gonna go right into the questions you asked because it's exactly what I would do, regardless of whether it's online or in the showroom. I'm going to point blank tell the customer there's always going to be a better deal. Part of negotiating is that I can go down 100, you can go down 100, we can go down 100. We can always go back and forth, over and over and over again. But at the end of the day, if you did not go to this dealer, drive this vehicle, get the full experience, figure out exactly your entire program on the entire purchase process, you didn't actually get a deal. You just got one number in the whole equation. And obviously there's tons of numbers in this deal. I'm sure, again, we can get back to an agreement for the full picture, but we can go back and forth and no one's going to miss you over $100. So you might've got a better deal, but you're here and I'm going to make you the best deal.
Well, the biggest thing, we don't want to lie, cheat, sneak, deceive, or misrepresent to sell cars. That's never been our purpose, never been our goal. If a customer asks me
buyers will pull numbers out of their butt and tell you they got this deal from somewhere. So at the end of the day, it is our job to nicely, non-combatively call them out on their crap and make sure that we actually get validation if they really truly got this deal from someone else.
Jenna, jump in there.
What I would say is I kind of fall along the lines of Max and Jim on this one. Like you didn't purchase the vehicle there. How come? What stopped you while you were there?
Okay, but once again, you're not selling the car. You're only insulting them that they didn't buy the car at the other dealer.
I understand, but sometimes
you want to hear my conversion on this?
Well, of course you have a conversion. As you know, you're going to jump in and give us your conversion.
As I know. Okay. Okay. Mr. Customer, let me ask you a sincere question. If I go and buy that car from the other dealership, if I get that car and I've got that car side by side with my car and I sold them to you for the same price, which one would you pick? Well, I'd pick your car. Okay, so in other words, you're saying that if the price was even, you would buy my car. Yeah. So even though you have to pay a little more for my car, you're going to get what you want or the car you don't want. You see what I just did? Mm-hmm. Are you going to get the car you just told me you don't want the car at the other place. You like mine better. You told me that. So why would... Are you one of these people that I saw a commercial on TV that they're settlers? Are you going to settle for what you don't want because the price was slightly cheaper? How do you like that close, Mabel?
I like it.
It's a good close. If I had both cars side by side and I priced them the same, which one would you choose? Now, see, everybody said, why didn't you buy the car at the other dealership? That doesn't sell them your car.
No.
That just insults them about their stupidity and not buying the other one. But when I said, if I could give you both cars at the same price, which one would you choose? And if they say my car, I've got them. The cork just went under. I set this drag. I got them.
I think it's important too, though, to interject some humor. I think that it's very important throughout the process to poke a little fun with them, have some fun, make the experience enjoyable, because it is the second largest purchase that they're ever going to make. And so if you can't have a little bit of banter, now every customer is a tiny bit different, right? I mean, realities, and you have to morph to whatever your situation is with your customer. That's why the needs assessment and establishing rapport very early on is so important. But once you find that spot where you can have a little banter with them, customers actually enjoy it. It takes the ick out of the car deal, right?
Well, you gotta question the customer, because how many miles are on that other unit?
Right.
Well,
is it apples for apples? Is it equipped the same as mine?
Sure.
New or used? I mean, forever and ever and ever. Have you ever had a customer say, "You're trying to steal my trade"?
I've had that happen before. I could sell it to so and more.
Here's my word track on that. We're not stealing your trade, sir. We would never consciously send our buyer to the auction to buy a piece of shit like that. No, that's that's not the word track. That was me thinking. That was my thoughts. No,
Jim, we should have a whole session on what not to say.
Mr. Customer, we're buying your car to help you buy our car. I want the salespeople to learn to use the word buying your car, the car that we're buying from you, and always keep the customer up in their mind. We're buying your car. We're not trading it in. We will probably wholesale your car, and I never tell them my used car manager is going to look at it. Our professional buyer is going to look at your car, and based on cars that are similar to your car. You see how the word tracking is very important. We don't teach our salespeople the correct words, and the correct words are what you call semantics. Semantics are using more psychologically favorable words for the other word. I never say buy, I say own. If you could own this car today, I don't say I'm going to sell you a car. If you could own it on your terms, Mr. Customer, if you could own this car on your terms, you'd own it now, wouldn't you? The now commitment is so important for a salesperson to get the now commitment. Mr. Customer, if you could own this car on your own terms, you'd own it now, wouldn't you? That has been the biggest, most powerful closing phrase I ever made up. I'm telling you, that one-liner, Mr. Customer, let me ask you, if you could own the car on your terms, not my terms, but your terms, you'd own it now, wouldn't you? Great, let's get with the management and discuss your terms. Fair enough? Let's get with the management and discuss your terms. I never say negotiate or work the deal. No, we're going to discuss your terms. How good's that, April?
I love it. And I wholeheartedly agree with it. And to Jenna's point, I think it's something we need to do a better job as we're, going back to quote unquote normal. What we say in the tower as desk managers or other types of managers out there, we'll say the things that Jim just said. That's the stuff we say because it's the stuff that's in our head because we see it, we're frustrated with it. But when we're sending our salespeople out there with numbers to go present to a customer, we need to make sure we're loading their lips with the word tracks, the right phrase.
Let me show you. Let me shut you down. We've only got 2 minutes. I'm sure that's Patrick O'Brien, Facebook user. He says, show him your worksheet. I have a worksheet that I designed years ago. There it is. That worksheet with the script right on it is an absolute killer. Notice the word tracks on the script. The manager, and we have this in the CRM. The CRM types it, the blanks in. The market value of the vehicle you are purchasing is $20,000. That includes the manufacturer's preferred equipment package. The manufacturer is also giving you a cashback rebate. leaving your adjusted sale price of $21,800. Our professional buyers have looked at your car, and based on similar cars we bought and sold recently, we wanted to buy your car today between these figures. We'll be paying off your old vehicle as a part of this agreement up to this amount. Most lending institutions would like to see as much as 20% cash down payment for premium and preferred financial programs. In your case, we'd like to see $6,213, which will make your estimated monthly investments 48 payments of $611 to $621, depending on your personal credit. How good is that worksheet, April?
It's almost verbatim what we use within Horn Auto Group for our script. I mean, legit almost verbatim what we use.
Well, anyway, this has been a great session. We burned that hour quickly. I want to thank Mabel Peralta. Hello, Mabel. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank Jenna Smith. Thank you for joining us today. And of course, it wouldn't be Max, one price sucks. No. April Horn and Max Zanan. Say goodbye to the audience, folks.
Bye, everyone.